What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode of Moonshot Monday. Today I'm going to pitch my vision for Spotify and how I believe the company could eventually allow us to invest in our favorite musicians, and how I think this could totally unlock so much value in the music industry, democratize the record label business model, put it on the internet. Truly what this is opening up a capital market for musicians and creatives, and I think this is scratching the surface of a huge movement in society, helping individual artists and creatives monetize their work with the power of the internet. Recently, Spotify introduced a feature partnering with Cash App from Square Stock. I love Square and Cash App. They have been crushing it, and they partnered with Spotify to release this thing called Artist Fundraising Picks from Spotify for Artists. Really an innovation out of necessity and need. Think about all of these musicians who have gigs, who do concerts, who make money by doing live shows and selling merch at those live shows is a huge part of their livelihood. Not having those live shows, if you're a freelance musician, is going to crush you. So many independent musicians are really among the people getting hurt the hardest by COVID-19. And one of my creative director of Hyperchange, who's been with me making videos since day one, my best friend Kevin, he's an independent musician himself. He knows a ton of people in the community and has been telling me about the problems that he's seeing. And so this has really opened my eyes to this. And I think Spotify integrating a payments layer into their app ecosystem, this new thing where you can basically go into an artist page with the Cash App partnership and directly send money via Cash App to your favorite artist. That money goes to the artist to support them, or it can go to a charity that they've chosen. But for many independent, smaller artists, like that money's literally going to paying their food and their rent and their bills. And this is an amazing feature. And then I was like, wow, the payment layer on the music Spotify side of the platform is in place. This unlocks the next puzzle piece for how we democratize and digitize the record label model, which is letting me invest in my artists. A little bit of story time. Way back in the day, I started a company called Musico with a couple friends. Shout out to Jay Vilci. And we had this vision that independent musicians should be able to get capital from their fans to fund their next project. If you're an independent musician, recording, booking studio time, getting a mixing guy, shooting music videos, this costs a huge amount of money to produce your next project. And where are you going to get all this capital? The capital doesn't come in until you actually produce the project and get the ad revenue, get the streaming revenue, get the merch sales, do the concerts. So there's a huge mismatch in the cash flow profile of the independent artist musician. I think this is a truly massive opportunity for a really simple investing financial engineering model, basically crowdfunding. And so that's the company that we created, was a company to allow these independent musicians to crowd from their fans for their album to help pay for all of those costs. And then they could give, those fans exclusive access to the album, a signed copy of the album. That was scratching the surface and heading in the right direction. But what if you could give those people who invested in the project an actual return on their investment? Royalties. Let's say it costs $15,000 to produce an album. That $15,000 is our break-even point, plus paying the artist, another $50,000, let's call it, for years of work. $65,000. After we get over that $65,000 threshold, all those profits start to be distributed as dividends to the people that invested. So how many times have you seen a musician, you're like, I know this guy's going to blow up. I know this guy's going to blow up. I know we've all been there. And I know that in many ways it's been easy. Like, the reason why the music industry works the way it is because the record labels are not efficient at allocating capital. They have to buffer in a massive amount of damage control, basically. Because think about it, if you're a musician and, the record label is going to take more than half of your money and 90% of your earnings to work with them, a huge amount of money to distribute. And the reason why they're taking such a big cut, they're a huge corporation, but they have to buffer for all the stars that don't hit. Not every star is going to make their money back, and they have to price that in. So they're not really that efficient at allocating capital. So that's one reason why you're not really letting the musicians get their fair share of what they're actually earning. The other thing is the internet exists now. You don't have to rely on record labels to distribute your content. You can just put up a website, get on Spotify, do it all yourself now. I think the power struggle is really shifting here. And the truth is, who's going to be better at record labels deciding how to allocate capital to artists? The people listening to the artists, the people on the ground, the people in the industry who are watching the Spotify streams go up, who are seeing that artist music video do better than his last music video, who are talking to their friends who now listen to that artist. Like, the people on the ground are going to be way more efficient at allocating capital to these musicians. And I think that's one piece of it. And I just think this is like, investing in stocks and companies is so fun, but like, imagine being able to invest in a creative, in a musician, in an artist, and having a song blow up and be like, I helped pay to produce that song, and I'm actually making bank on the royalties from that song because it blew up. I think this is inevitably where the future is headed. I think Spotify is the perfect company to integrate it. They're an extremely delicate balancing act right now, trying to play politics with all of the record labels, all of the music rights, all of that stuff. But slowly and surely, with this Cash App partnership being the start of it, I think Spotify will slowly build more and more of a payments layer into their app and eventually allow you to crowdfund and invest in your favorite artists. If they're not working on this already, I think they should be. I think this is huge capital markets for musicians. This is going to be a 10 times bigger business model than Spotify's streaming revenue. And then think about this, maybe this isn't even just for musicians. Spotify, dabbling deep into podcasts. They purchase Anchor, the company who distributes all of the audio versions of Hyperchange. Podcast consumption's up huge on the platform. Imagine if not only you could invest in a musician, but you could also invest in a podcast as well. I mean, man, this gets me. This is hitting on one of the biggest trends that I mentioned with Jack Conte, the CEO of Patreon. Shout out to him. He's awesome. I love Patreon. It's how Hyperchange is able to exist. And I was like, why can't we invest in these artists? Like, it's great that people pay me every month, but what if they could like invest? And when I get big views, they could like see some return on that investment. And I think this is such a big idea that will unlock so much creative art and artistic potential in our society by getting the creative people paid. And that's one thing I'm super passionate about is art and society and culture. And I think there's going to be an unlock when we can fix the cash flow profile of how you're just starting with independent musicians, then moving to podcasters, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is a huge idea. So food for thought, how do we democratize the record label industry model? How do we allow crowdfunding to where you can invest in your musician and be paid back with the, streaming royalties if it hits a certain threshold? Would that get you pumped? Which artists would you be investing in? Let me know in the comments below. Moonshot Monday, Spotify allows you to invest in your favorite musician. Huge shout out to our Patreon supporters and producers funding the channel. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.